Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's Dave Greathouse with Remax Above and Beyond and the Greathouse team in our new office. And it's a new video for you. And today we're talking inspections. Not your typical run-of-the-mill inspections, a little bit different ones. And these ones can make or break a transaction. We're talking point of sale. Let's go. All right, everybody, welcome back. Freaky Friday, joined as usual by my partner here, Josh Anton.
What's up, Dave?
Good to see you.
Likewise.
I brought you in here today because we are talking point of sale inspection. So Josh and I just had two properties close on the east side of Cleveland that required a point of sale inspection. And so we brought you in here because you seem to be our resident expert. So, right? What is a point of sale inspection?
Yeah. Dave, in its simplest, most boiled down form, the point of sale inspection is a locally driven initiative that you'll see in local municipalities. So here in Cleveland, for instance, you have Cleveland proper. There's no point of sale inspection requirements if you're in like the actual Cleveland area. But when you go outside of that in a lot of these suburbs, in particular here, a lot of our east side suburbs, mainly the ones with the heights in the end, Maple Heights, Garfield Heights, Shaker Heights, Mayfield Heights, they require this point of sale inspection. Essentially what that means is that the city must conduct an inspection on that home in order to allow a real estate transaction to occur.
Okay.
So what that means is if you're going to sell your home in Garfield Heights, you need to call or reach out to your local building department. They'll send an inspector out to your home. They'll come out and assess based upon their guidelines and what they have. And then there's a lot of action after that, whether, how to remedy it, the time frame, ton of nuances in these point of sale inspections. But if you live in an area that has it, you have to do it or you can't sell.
All right, so it's a mandatory inspection done by that particular city, but the city of Cleveland does not have point of sale.
As it stands today, no.
All right. So if you're buying a house, let's say Shaker Heights. Now, we just had Mayfield Heights and University Heights, and they were completely different. Like, completely different. And these are next door neighbors.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're buying a house, walk me through that process. What do you need to know?
Yeah. So if you're on the buyer side, I think the most prudent advice I can give you is conduct your research. So go to your local building, that municipality's building department website or whatever. They'll give you the guidelines and stipulations for what they're looking for. I might even go as far as to pick up the phone, see if you can talk to one of those inspectors or somebody in the department. Say, hey, look, like what are you looking for here? What should I know about the process? What's the timeline? Just really educate yourself. Right. And then, in that listing, if you're on the buyer side, like your agent should know whether or not, or should be asking, frankly, has the point of sale inspection been ordered? Is it compliant? Just where are you in the process? Because, that can alter or change your offer dramatically, depending upon where it is in the process and how much is going to be needed to remedy.
So buyers, it's not your home inspection, right? You're still going to want to do a home inspection?
Yeah. I couldn't even believe it when I've actually had people ask me like, oh, great, I don't have to do an inspection because they're going to do one. The best way I can put it is this, Dave, like the point of sale inspection is like the very diet version of your general home inspection. And if there's home inspectors out here watching right now, they're probably cringing like, no, it does not replace it. No, we do not advise you take a point of sale inspection. In most cases, as a replacement for your general home inspection. It's going to be much more thorough and give you a better analysis on that home's actual condition. Because these point of sale inspections vary, Dave. Like you could have exterior only in some areas. You have interior and exterior. You have some that are just for investment properties. Like they vary dramatically. So don't replace your home inspection with point of sale inspection.
So we represented sellers in Mayfield Heights and in University Heights. Again, the heights, it's just crazy. And those obviously were vastly different. But our advice to them was to deal with the point of sale before listing your home, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, the last 3 years, seller's market, you can pretty much call your shots, and we would see this, right? home sold as is, buyer to assume all point of sale violations. Very common, very typical for the last 3 years. I think since we've seen a bit of a shift in the market, my advice, and if I were selling my home in a point of sale area, I think it becomes much more marketable, a much easier conversation, and gives your realtor more bandwidth to negotiate, just a better overall experience. If you know and understand at least what the violations are, right? So you can provide that. Hey, look, we're not doing a thing, but at least here's what's needed. Here's what you're going to have to assume. Write your offer based upon having to remedy these items.
So if I'm a seller and I've got $5,000 in repairs, right? Concrete's cracked, right? We saw that on Mayfield. The landscaping needs done around the house, like little things, but I don't have $5,000 to do the repairs prior to listing my house. Explain to us what an escrow holdback is.
Yeah, so it does vary slightly, like the actual process, but if we're going to speak about it generally, a lot of times what will happen is they'll conduct that inspection, they'll give you a list of items, and then they'll attribute a financial dollar amount necessary to be held in an escrow account, typically by your title company. Now, let me make sure to clarify, that's not a quote for repairing everything. It doesn't always add up.
Right.
It's a number that they come back with. They've got their own algorithms or ways of going about it, but they'll essentially attribute, $5,000 to that. The buyer will then, assume that, and then if they go to get those fixed, they can withdraw those funds to use for repairs and such.
So it comes out of the seller proceeds.
Correct.
Right. So when you close on the transaction, if you're selling, you're going to see $5,000 less in the proceeds, but you also don't have to deal with the repairs.
Yeah, I think that's what happens most commonly. Yeah. Now, look, and again, I think it's because it was a seller-driven market. I've seen it where buyers, to be more competitive, will say, hey, we'll do the escrow hold. Yeah. We'll gladly put that money in on the front end to take care of it. So, I think your scenario is a little more common. But again, you can systemically, write this thing up any which way you want, but make sure you get it cleared through your title company or through that local, governing agency to make sure that you don't have any surprises. Dave, I hate surprises in real estate. I don't like surprise parties. Best advice I can give you: call, ask questions, get a better understanding of it, lean on your realtor to give you the best advice possible.
So the big question that I had when I originally heard about this, and a lot of sellers and buyers have, is why do they exist? Why is it if I live in Cleveland, 5 houses down from the Garfield Heights border, my house does not require a point of sale inspection to sell, but my neighbor, Jimmy, 5 houses down, who lives in Garfield, has to do it? What is it about point of sale? Why is it required? What are the cities trying to do?
It's kind of an ever-going debate. We have this with buyers and sellers all over. They all have different opinions on why they do it. I think if I can give you my humble opinion on why they exist, it kind of falls in 2 buckets. And number one is they market it as a safety, like a ploy for safety, right? So if you see the items that typically get pulled up on a point of sale, and I'm just speaking about the common ones, like cracked driveways or tripping hazards on sidewalks, something that kind of leads to litigation, right? The male person comes, trips on your concrete driveway, breaks their leg. They're trying to protect you from that. Lead-based paint, lead's huge here in Cleveland, right? So flaking paint, they see that a lot of times. They'll say, ooh, that. So I think a lot of it's safety-driven. They use it to protect buyers. Hey, you want to know that the condition of the home's good.
Safe house, right?
So safe house, yeah. So I think that's one. The other, it's pretty clear cut. I think these local municipalities want to make sure that their neighborhoods are being kept up with. Yeah. So another thing that we see a lot of is rubbish or trash or poor landscaping, a lot of stuff like that. I think they use it as a way to keep these neighborhoods in, clean, looking good, looking, uniform to a certain degree, and just making sure that they're looking up. Value is staying up, right? Keep the values up.
Yeah. So, all right. Last but not least, investors. We have a lot of investors that watch our channel, that subscribe to our channel. Are there different rules for investors than, say, someone here that's that's maybe local and wants to live in the house as opposed to maybe turning it into a rental property?
Generally speaking, no. There are some nuances, which I'll talk about in a minute. But for most of your run-of-the-mill point of sale required processes or areas here, they don't care if you're an investor, owner, occupant. In order for that property to transfer, you have to go through the point of sale protocol. Now, Lakewood's a one-off. We all know and love Lakewood here, investor friendly. There's no point of sale process, Dave, for a regular run-of-the-mill single-family owner-occupant transfer. Nothing. However, if that property has been used most recently as a rental or investment property, they do require a point of sale inspection. I believe it's exterior only. I think it's changed a little bit. So you definitely want to look into that, but that's one of the weird nuances why it's so important to do your due diligence.
Absolutely. So to recap, right, point of sales, municipalities, right, outside of Cleveland, but very close to Cleveland, are requiring these to keep those neighborhoods up and, pretty and nice and keep those values up. Buyers, you should do your research, right? Find out from your realtor whether or not that point of sale has been ordered, where are they at in the process. Sellers probably want to do this prior to listing. It doesn't take very long for them to come out and do an inspection, maybe a week. You have a better idea for how to market that property. And then you can have that conversation with your agent about, hey, what are we in a position to do? Is it repairs, or are we going to ask someone to assume this? Investors, not a whole lot of difference for you, except for a couple of different areas where there might be some more rules. Am I missing anything?
No, that's pretty much it. I think the main thing to your point on these point of sales is do your due diligence. Do your research, pick up the phone. If you're a buyer assuming these repairs, make sure you're staying on top of your communication. I think the one thing I've seen is people miss the deadlines. They start getting fines.
Yeah, that's true.
And these deadlines vary, 90 days, 120 days.
And weather too, you might have to replace something outside of the weather.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're buyer or seller, if you're on the clock, once you get that inspection, they give you that report, you are on the clock. The best advice I can give you folks is to communicate with your local government. For instance, quick example, and very relevant here in Cleveland, driveways. Well, it's the dead of winter. Yeah. You can't really pour concrete in the dead of winter. So a lot of times these local governing agencies will be flexible with you if you openly communicate and say, hey, I've got this driveway issue, but I can't pour it right now. It's negative 9 degrees. Can you offer me an extension without penalty? And most often than not, if you're proactive and you're reasonable with your communication and you're nice and friendly and not calling 3 weeks after the fact, typically they'll play ball with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cool. So these municipalities are all different. Their inspections are all different. The charges, what they actually inspect, completely different. So if you're in the market, obviously, these communities are really close. You might be looking at a house in University Heights and say, hey, I want to live in Cleveland Heights. You may not know what is needed. We're going to put a list in the description box below to a link to show you all of the required point of sale inspections around Cleveland. So you're covered. Alongside, our information will be down below. You're going to want to have trusted real estate agents through this process because it can be a roadblock and it can keep you from a real smooth real estate transaction. And so again, our information down below alongside all the other stuff in the description box. As always, reach out to us directly when you're ready to buy or sell
your great house.
Let's go.